cancer is still the leading cause of death for people under the age of 85. In the United States, 1 in every 4 people die from cancer.
As soon as he entered the medical profession, Dr. Simoncini realized that something was definitely wrong with the cancer medical system.
I prayed the Lord, please give me a light, because I see terrible sufferings. I was in a pediatric oncologic ward, all the children died. I was suffering looking, when I was looking the poor children dying with chemo, with radiation.
Faced with this frustrating reality, Dr. Simoncini felt the need to reconsider the cancer paradigm from scratch, and began looking for a different origin of the disease. What puzzled him the most was the fact that all cancers behave in the same way, even though they occur in the widest variety of organs, appearing totally different from one another. He then started looking for a common denominator, and eventually found one. Most cancers appear white.
If you enter in the body and you reach an organ affected by the cancer, you can see that the lumps are always white.
The lumps are white?
Lumps are always white. Sometimes it is covered with blood or with the defense reaction. But in every post-mortem examination, scientists find the white lumps, the white masses, that is fungi. This is the pleura. We entered with a camera, and look, the pleura should be red, but you can see all the lumps, all the cancer that is white. Really white. This is the heart beating. This is a bronchial cancer. Look, we went into the bronchia with the bronchoscope. Look, they are white. And then in the colon cancer, this is red because there is a little bit blood. I washed it up.
Okay, and now it's white.
Now, look. It is always white.
White, like Candida. In Latin, Candida albicans means pure, glowing white.
Considering the fact that fungi are found in a vast majority of cancers, Dr. Simoncini tried reversing the relationship between the two, and posited that it was the fungus to cause cancer, not vice versa. This is his reasoning, which began forming more than 20 years ago. Candida is a very familiar fungus, known especially to women, who sometimes experience an infection in their sexual organs.
The vagina is a muscular canal that leads from the outside of the body to the uterus. The warmth and moisture of this canal create a perfect environment for microorganisms to breed. For example, bacteria called lactobacilli, which are naturally present in the vagina, coexist with a yeast fungus called Candida albicans. Normally, the lactobacilli create an acidic environment that keeps the natural yeast population in balance. However, when conditions within the vagina change that either decrease the numbers of lactobacilli or decrease the acidity, these yeast fungi begin to multiply.
Candida is present also in other parts of the human body, like the mouth or the intestine, but its growth is kept under constant control by the immune system, as part of its regular duty. Whenever the system's defenses become weaker, however, the fungi increase their chances of expanding their numbers, and eventually they manage to form a colony, which becomes more and more resilient as it increases in size. Once the colony manages to penetrate an organ, the immune system becomes incapable of fighting it properly. It is then the very organ that reacts by building a barrier against the intruder, made with his own cells.
It is that barrier, which we perceive as an abnormal growth, that we call tumor. Far from being a wild, uncontrolled cellular replication, such growth is rather a lucid and desperate attempt from our body to reject the intruder, which is now totally out of reach from the immune system. At some point, and quite possibly during the first biopsy, or during surgery, a small group of fungi escapes into the bloodstream, and ends up nesting somewhere else in the body. It is therefore this runaway group of fungi, and not a malignant cell, to cause the new metastasis in the body. Once the primary cancer sets in, the system's defenses wear out much faster, and chemotherapy only accelerates the process, making it even easier for this group of fungi to start a colony in the new location.
Unfortunately, chemotherapy also harms healthy cells, especially cells that divide quickly. Harm to healthy cells is what causes side effects. Some side effects may include hair loss, nausea and vomiting, fatigue, suppression of the immune system, and anemia.
Unless the immune system is quickly restored to its full potency, the entire organism will eventually succumb to the metastasis now spreading all over the body. To test this hypothesis, Dr. Simoncini considered treating cancer patients with sodium bicarbonate, which is known as one of the most powerful enemies of fungi.
Sodium bicarbonate is the strongest substance against fungi. They cannot adapt to a salt because it is not a complex substance. That's why the antifungal today's antifungal drugs are ineffective, because the fungi can adapt themselves in 3-4 days. For a fungus, you give an antifungal drug, you can kill the first layer, but the second layer they get used and they eat drugs, chemotherapy, everything.
One of the first persons to try Simoncini's treatment was Gennaro San Germano, an Italian patient who had been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer back in 1983. With a life expectancy of only a few months left, Mr. San Germano met Tullio Simoncini and chose to try the sodium bicarbonate therapy. 23 years later, in 2006, he gave this interview.
Buonasera. Buonasera, io mi chiamo Massimo. Mi sembra di parlare con una persona molto fortunata, mi sembra di capire, giusto?
Sì, molto fortunata, veramente.
Perché gli pensi...
Molto fortunata, ma grazie a Dio al dottore Simoncini. Ha detto vieni da me, sono andato con la cura che mi ha dato lui, con grazia di Dio.
E ci ha messo, mi diceva la moglie, ci ha messo 8-9 mesi a guarire?
Sì, oltre 9 mesi.
Però se n'è andato via tutto il tumore?
Sì, per grazia di Dio, sì, che hanno ritrovato che è andato via. Non credere, però a me è andato bene.
Lei è lì, infatti, dice...
Ecco, perché mi hanno detto che c'aveva 6-7 mesi di vita addirittura.
Lei non ha fatto nessun'altra cura insieme a Simoncini, cioè lei è sicuro che l'ha guarita questa cosa qua?
Sì.
Non ha fatto nient'altro?
La cura di Simoncini altri non sono andati. Adesso solo che più qualche raffreddore, la febbre, va da un altro medico.
Vabbè, chiaro, normale.
Allora, comunque la cura là non l'ha fatta solo lui.
Non ha fatto nient'altro insieme?
No.
Ho capito.
After a few successful treatments, Dr. Simoncini presented his documentation to the Italian Department of Health, hoping that his theory was put to test under proper scientific protocols. Not only were his findings completely ignored instead, but Dr. Simoncini ended up being disbarred from the Italian medical order for having prescribed cures that had not been approved by the authorities.
This is rather unfortunate for the millions of people affected by cancer today, as even the ancient Hindu books of medicine prescribe sodium bicarbonate against cancer.
Alkali of strong potency should be used in diseases arising from anella, sclerosis, meta, cancerous growth and such others which are very difficult to cure. This book is over 1,000 years old.
Like many other doctors who had proposed a natural remedy against cancer before him, Tullio Simoncini had obviously found himself in a direct collision course with one of the most powerful interest groups in the world, the pharmaceutical industry.
Anything that comes from nature cannot be patented. They're not interested in that. But what they are interested in, finding something, perhaps within something in nature, that they can find some subcomponent that they can extract and then make it a man-made chemical that works the same way, then they can patent that, then they're interested, but not if it comes from nature, and it doesn't make any difference whether it works. So, we translate that into the real world.